Morning, class 9th. We were studying second chapter of your chemistry book. Is matter around us pure? In which you till now studied about the pure and impure substances, mixture versus compound. Then we were studying about the solution, suspensions, and colloids. In which you studied till now about the solutions. What are solution? What is solute? What is solvent? What is the concentration of solution? What is the solubility of solution? And etc. Now today we will study suspensions and colloids. So first, suspension. So suspension is basically a heterogeneous mixture in which the solute particle do not get dissolved but remain suspended throughout the bulk of the medium. Simply, for example, sand water. You took a beaker of water and you add some sand into it. You stir the beaker well. You will observe that you can easily see the sand particles mixing in the liquid. So that is called a heterogeneous mixture because sand particles are easily visible. ठीक है ना? They do not get dissolved in the water. So this is called a suspension. ठीक है? So those substances which are insoluble in water form suspensions. Obviously which are soluble तो they तो get dissolved in the water, तो they will form a true solution. ठीक है? Or maybe colloid, you will get to know soon. But suspensions, the substances which are insoluble will form the suspension. ठीक है? Mixture of chalk powder in water, sand water, muddy water, all are example of suspensions. Now what are the properties of suspension? Suspension is a heterogeneous mixture. Simple. Particle size is quite large. So suspension का particle size है that is of about 100 nanometer in diameter, and you can easily see the suspension particle in the liquid even with your naked eyes. Okay, particles of suspension can be easily seen even by the naked eyes. Next point is it can pass through the filter paper. What can pass through the filter paper? Suspension can, sorry, not can, it cannot pass through the filter paper, obviously because the particle size is quite large and they are insoluble in the water. So what will happen? When you filter the solution, when you filter the mixture, suspension, the insoluble particle will remain at the top of the filter paper as a residue, and the liquid will pass through the filter paper. Suspension, next point is suspension is very unstable. That is solute particle settles down when suspension is left undisturbed. ठीक है? Unstable. Unstable means, for example, when you put the sand here and you mix it well, so initially you will observe the sand particles are moving in the liquid. But if you keep that beaker at a place for some time without disturbing it, you will observe all the sand particle will settle at the bottom. So that means जो suspension था it was unstable, and when you put it undisturbed for some time, जो insoluble particles थे they were settled at the bottom. Next is suspension, scattered beam of light passing through it. Obviously scattering is you can see kind of reflection. Reflection is when the object when a light beam go and strike some object and then comes back, that is called refraction. Scattering is a kind of reflection, but it's not particularly reflection. ठीक है? Reflection basically happens in a single direction, but scattering happens in all direction. बिखरना जिसे बोलते हैं, है ना? तो लाइट जो है वो स्कैटर होती है थ्रू द सस्पेंशन पार्टिकल, ऑब्वियसली बिकॉज द पार्टिकल साइज इज क्वाइट लार्ज. तो जो लाइट उन पर पड़ेगी तो ड्यू टू देयर हायर साइज क्या हो जाएगा, देयर लार्जर साइज, जो लाइट उन पर टकराएगी वो क्या होगा, स्कैटर करे. ठीक है? नाउ नेक्स्ट आर कोलॉइड्स. Colloid is a mixture whose particle size is between those of true solution and suspension. देखिए true solution का particle size था 1 nanometer and suspension का particle size was 100 nanometer. तो the solutions या the liquids which have particle size between 1 nanometer and 100 nanometer are called colloids. ठीक है? Colloids जो होते हैं they appear homogeneous but actually are heterogeneous because the particle size is not very large and is not it appears that the solution is homogeneous, that the liquid is homogeneous, but it actually is heterogeneous. ठीक है? For example, milk, soap solution, blood, ink, starch solution. These all are example of colloids. Now, what are the properties of colloid? Colloid is a heterogeneous mixture, but it appears homogeneous. Okay, just now I explained. Second point is particle size is between 1 nanometer to 100 nanometer in diameter. Third point is particles of colloid are very small and cannot seen even with the naked eyes. ठीक है, you cannot see the particles of colloid even with the microscope as well. Okay. Fourth point is colloid can easily pass through filter paper. ठीक है, colloid can easily pass through filter paper. You cannot separate the components of a colloid by a filtration process. You have to separate them by a technique called centrifugation. ठीक है. Next is colloids are quite stable, that is particle will not settle down if the left hand step. For example, milk में क्या होता है, फैट है, प्रोटीन है, that is there in form of colloid. So अगर आप मिल्क को बहुत देर के लिए छोड़ देते हैं अनडिस्टर्ब तो यू विल नॉट ऑब्जर्व कि मिल्क का जो मक्खन है या मिल्क का जो बटर है या जो फैट है वो बॉटम में सेटल हो गया है ना. ठीक है. सो जनरली जो है उसका जो प्रोटीन है वो बॉटम में सेटल हो गया, ऐसा नहीं होता. सोप सॉल्यूशन अगेन. ठीक है. तो जनरली जो है दे आर क्वाइट स्टेबल. Particles of colloid are big enough to scatter a beam of light passing through it and makes its path visible. See, now what you have observed till now is the most of the properties colloid show are same as that of a true solution. That means it appears homogeneous. Particle size is very small. Particles cannot be seen with naked eyes. It can pass through filter paper. It is quite stable. Colloids are quite stable. These all are the properties of a true solution. So now if you have two glasses of a liquid in which two liquids are placed, you have to find out whether the substance, whether the mixture is a colloid or a suspension or a true solution. Or we'll skip the suspension for now because suspension are quite visible. If you have a suspension, you can easily see it because the particles are not dissolved in the liquid. So that means that is a suspension. But if you have two solutions, two liquids which look quite similar, so how would you observe whether the substance is a colloid or a true solution? So what is the basic difference between a true solution and a colloid is scattering of light. That means जो colloid particles हैं, they are quite big as compared to true solution and hence they scatter the light beam. I told you that true solution do not scatter the light passing through it, but colloids will scatter the light passing through it and makes its path visible. So this is the basic difference between a colloid and a true solution. Now that scattering of light is called Tyndall effect. Scattering of light through colloid particles is known as Tyndall effect. यानी light की पर कोई पार्टिकल्स था उससे टकरा कर फैल गई है ना. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड स्कैटरिंग ऑफ लाइट एंड स्कैटरिंग ऑफ लाइट बाय कोलॉइडल पार्टिकल्स इज नोन एज टिंडल इफेक्ट. टू डिस्टिंग्विश बिटवीन अ कोलॉइड एंड अ ट्रू सॉल्यूशन, आई जस्ट नाउ टोल्ड यू कि कोलॉइड्स एंड ट्रू सॉल्यूशन कैन बी डिस्टिंग्विश ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ टिंडल इफेक्ट. सिंपली इफ a liquid makes the light scattered when it passes through it, so that means the liquid is a colloid. If the light passing through a liquid cannot scatter, did not scatter, that means the liquid is a true solution. Simple. Now classification of colloids है. Colloids can be type of aerosol. Two types of aerosol are there. Solid sol, emulsion form, solid form, gel. ठीक है. These are the dispersed phases which we call solute and these are the dispersion medium which we call solvent and these are the example. ठीक है. So go through this table and just see it. Okay. Now next is physical and chemical changes. I think you all have studied about what are physical and what are chemical changes in your previous classes as well. ठीक है. So I'll just give you a brief example of each one of those है ना. So what are physical changes? Those changes in which no new substance is formed are called physical changes. That means you have performed an activity, but after the activity the product you get is no new substance. It is the original product which you are using before the activity. Then that substance, then that change is called फिजिकल चेंज, जो फिजिकल चेंजेस होते हैं दे आर मोस्टली टेम्पोररी एंड इजिली रिवर्सिबल, यू कैन इजिली रिवर्स दोज चेंजेस. एग्जाम्पल है मेल्टिंग ऑफ आइस. आइस is H2O. ठीक है, you have melted, converted into water. Water is still H2O. So you have performed an activity. There is a change of physical state. Solid state has been changed into liquid state, but no new substance is formed. The substance initially was H2O, and after the melting, it is still H2O. So this is a physical change. Boiling of water, again. Boiling of water means you are converting a liquid state into gaseous state, but the chemical properties are still same. Physical. Glowing of an electric bulb is again a physical change. When you switch on the light, what happens? The electron starts flowing, and hence the current flows and the bulb starts glowing. But as soon as you switch off the light, the bulbs turn off. So this is a physical change. Making of a solution is a physical change. That means you take a glass, put some salt or sugar into it, stir it well, and make a solution. This is a physical change, because you can क्या बोलेंगे इसको, you can reverse this process by evaporation. For example, you have salt solution. By evaporation, you will get salt and water. And so this is a physical change. Breaking of glass tumbler. Glass tumbler है, you break it. What will happen? Though the shape is changed, but the glass still remains the glass. Same with tearing of paper. You have paper, you cut it into 2 pieces or 4 pieces or many other pieces, but the paper as a chemical substance will remain same. So this is a physical change. Now what are chemical change? Chemical changes are the changes in which you perform an activity, and the substance you get after performing the activity is totally new substance with new chemical properties. Then the change is called chemical change. That means those changes in which a new substance is formed are called chemical changes. Chemical changes are permanent changes which are usually irreversible. जितने भी chemical changes हैं, they are mostly permanent and usually irreversible होते हैं, और if you need to reverse them, you need to perform another chemical activity, and typical chemical activities. ठीक है ना, complex chemical activity. Now burning of paper. You add paper, you burn it, you will get ash of the paper. That ash will have the totally different properties from that of paper. ठीक है, तो this is a chemical. Rusting of iron. Rusting of iron. Iron is this. When it combines with oxygen, it gives you Fe2O3 ferric oxide we called it. तो ऑक्साइड की लेयर बनती है आयरन के ऊपर, and that is known as rusting of iron. This is a chemical change. ठीक है, because it is an irreversible process. It's not easy for you to reverse the rusting of iron and get the iron in same shape as well. Okay. Ripening of fruit, again irreversible है. It is a chemical change. Curdling of milk, irreversible and chemical. Cooking of food, burning of candle wax, charcoal or any other fuel which you burn to get the energy, heat energy or light energy, all are chemical changes. ठीक है. Formation of iron sulfide from iron and sulfur. This I explained you in the compound versus mixture portion as well, है ना. So when the iron sulfide is formed, when you mix iron and sulfur and then heat it, a new substance is formed. So that means this was a chemical change. So that's all for today. Thank you.